Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today's video, we're going to have a Black Library review for Warhammer 40k for you, and today we're going to be looking at the Helwinter's Gate by Chris Wraight. Now this is book number 3 in the Space Wolves series by Chris Wraight, the first one being The Blood of Azheim, and the second one being Stormcaller, which we did a review on last. Now this one, again, is narrated by Andrew James Spooner in the audio versions, where I generally listen and get all my Black Library content from. I like to listen to stuff while I'm doing some other hobby, building, painting all the models for the channel, doing some editing at the computer, or indeed while I'm trying to put the kids to bed, or, you know, doing the dishes and other household chores. But with that said, we're going to talk about book 3. I strongly recommend, if you have not read the first two, or at least have not read Stormcaller, that probably maybe tune out of this review for now and come back once you have finished those, or if you're okay with spoilers, because you probably are going to hear some spoilers from the first two books in order to talk about this book properly. But with that said, you've been warned. If you're still here, I'm assuming you either don't care or you're up to date and you're reading this one along with me. So with that said, let's get talking about the book itself and the story. So Yarn Hammerpack are forced to flee from the judgment of their own chapter aboard a stolen void ship. This is sort of where we lead off at the end of the last book. We get the sort of ending of Stormcaller where they are sort of escaping with Balder. And then amid the descending chaos of the Imperium and the total war of it as well, they are still pursuing the vengeances of old wrongs. These Space Wolves hunt the ruins of the world in search of an enemy who remains stubbornly hidden, same enemy they've been hunting over the past few books. Yet as the perilous journey unfolds, the pack learns that their nemesis is not the only threat to survival, but that they must also contend with the uncertain path charted by one of their own, aka Balder, whose strange and unsanctioned powers continue to grow. Their ultimate goal of a return to Fenris with their honour restored and oaths resworn becomes steadily more elusive as the Imperium's borders crumble and the long prophesied onslaught of the arch-enemy begins. Yarn Hammerpack must race to uncover the truth of an ancient betrayal and halt its horror from coming to pass, lest everything they have ever fought for be destroyed in the coming storm. And so, this story's purpose. I mean, this story is the final in the arc of the trilogy that is following Yarn Hammerpack. Now, you know, this may not be the last time we ever see Yarn Hammerpack in the Warhammer 40k universe, but this is definitely the last of the trilogy, and its aim is to round out and round off a lot of the stories we have started. We've obviously got the whole thing with Balder and his emerging psychic powers. We have the enemies of the church that they are trying to hunt down, that have, you know, caused much grievances to the Space Wolves, and of course killed the former commander of their pack as well that they're trying to hunt down. And this story, really, its purpose is to wrap up all these loose ends. Now, one other major point as well that this story does have to it, and that it sort of brings, is it actually takes the Yarn Hammerpack up to the time of Cadia's fall. We will see the Cicatrix Maledictum, the tear in reality and space itself, start to appear at the parts of the book, and this just sort of brings up the pack to modern-ish 40k times. I think, you know, at this point we're maybe, 150, 200 years behind the latest developments in Leviathan, which is pretty cool. So there's definitely, you know, potential for Yarn Hammerpack to come back at another point, I think, or indeed those who make it through this story. And of course, our main characters are the members of Yarn Hammerpack. So, with this story taking place, we now have Gunlauger, Balder, Haflui, Ingvar, and Jorundur being the last remaining members of the pack. Gunlauger obviously being the pack leader, the Wolfguard member. We've got Haflui, the Bloodclaw, our two great hunters, Balder, obviously with his emerging psychic powers, and Jorundur, the sort of Czech Marine-ish that we have, or I should say Wolf Priest-ish. No, Iron Priest is the correct term for them. And then Ingvar is our Deathwatch veteran that has returned to join the pack as well at the start of the series. But all the characters here are going to get their time to shine. Definitely this story, I think, really starts to focus around Balder more and more as the series progresses. He has really become sort of the central main focus character, even amongst the members of the Yarn Hammer pack. And so what has changed about these characters over the course of the story? Obviously, Balder being a primary one, we have, the emergence of the psychic powers within him continue. But I think for the course of the story, a lot of these characters, and indeed the Arnhammer Pack, I think we see them come together like we never had before in this story. Definitely, when we picked them up in Blood of Asselheim, there was a lot of sort of infighting. There was people like Hafloy that were new members of the pack. There were people returning like Ingvar to find things had really changed with obviously the previous leader having fallen, and Gunlager, his sort of main rival for the leadership before having left for the Death Watch, now being put in charge in place, sort of out him there. So we definitely see, all the characters really growing over the course, and we see, a unity of the characters that we have not seen. The pack really becomes, I guess, a true pack by the end of the story. And so, what does this book do? Well, now I should say this is a slightly longer than normal Black Library publication, because there is a lot to this story. I think it packs in a lot, but it does do so, extending the time of it, probably about 3 hours in listening, or even 4, it's almost 14 hours, I think, this one. Again, another long one. These 3 books have all been quite long, but it really does a great job of packing a lot in, even with that sort of larger than normal time we expect for a Black Library publication. Now, rounding off a lot of the various strands in the story is something it definitely does well. I think we get different parts and different endings to the different stories at various points within the book as well. It's not everything comes together at the final end. I think, there are definitely parts of the story that end before the end of this story, which is cool. We are getting closure one at a time. We're not just getting this final grand moment. There are definitely a lot of moments in the story where things sort of tie up and end, which I really do like. And I think that's a real big strength of giving each sort of ending to the main sort of stories we've been following their time to end and their time to shine as well. And so, who would enjoy this book? Obviously, this is for Space Wolves fans, though I do think you will certainly want to have read the previous 2 books to get this. I definitely don't think this is a book you could pick up and read by itself and get a lot of what's happening. There is definitely a lot of context that will be missing if this is just what you pick up, so I would recommend going and starting the whole series if you want to give this a read. But this is truly enjoyable. I think this is a really, really fun story nonetheless, and if you're a Space Wolves fan, this is probably some essential reading. So, in summary, this is a great end to the series that has overall been quite high quality. I really do like the length of these stories. I think it gives them a lot of room to breathe. All the stories have had some really interesting. I think the Yarnhammer pack in itself is a really interesting, diverse range of different characters that have been really enjoyable to read about and listen. And yeah, this was really, really fun. I've enjoyed the series. I've picked up a Space Wolves Combat Patrol based on just listening to these. These really got me hooked on Space Wolves. I think we're going to tackle some more Space Wolves books in the coming future on the channel, as I'm really, really hooked on Space Wolves now. I think they're awesome. So with that said, if you have read The Helwinter Gate, Blood of Asselheim, and Stormcaller, if you've read this series by Chris Wraight and you got some thoughts, leave them down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what everyone else thought about this series, and indeed this book, obviously, in particular on this video. But let us know down there. And so that is the end of the video. Thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to come chat more with me, we have a Discord server for the channel, and that is linked down in the video's description. Also linked down in the video's description are the best ways to help support the channel. This is either via Patreon or YouTube members using one of our affiliate links and codes down there, like Baron of Dice, Gap Games, or Mithras Games, or by supporting us directly on Patreon or YouTube members. If you'd like to do any of those, we have links for that all in the description. And as a special thank you to our Patrons and YouTube members, we'd like to give them all a shout out. So thank you to our Patreons: Soren, Kenny Lowell, Outer and Shot First, Andrew Bowen, Q Dynamic, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater, Benjamin Swallows, Red Martin, Iron Grinch, Colorblind Magic, Grimscold, and Andy C. And our YouTube members: Greenridge Gaming, Ronya, Lock Lorick, The Johnny84, Broken Chef, Ariana Edwards, Revenar, Pink Nico Fire, Robin Mankiller, Monty's Tabletop Terrain, James Tillman, Disco, and John Castle. Lastly, a special thanks to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork you see on the channel. Once again, everyone, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment down below. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.